Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. Prepare for takeoff.
The Happy House has always birthed creativity.
All artists are related to each other.
You're now listening to Stepner Show.
Every guest is special, but today we have guests that stand out in a way that it's a real blessing to have them. Ned Wendy The Band is here, created by Lindsay Ferguson and Jordan Plonner. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to Happy House. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Of course.
I watched your movie last night, and I was compelled to have you on the podcast because I know you guys have an event coming up, and you did this two-prong effect where you had this film released yesterday, and then you have an album release coming up. So let's talk about the film. Tell me about the film.
When we first met and we were remote, this was during quarantine, so I was living at my parents' house, Jordan was in LA, and we're making music together, and we kind of got carried away with it, and by the time we actually met in person and moved in together, we'd made, 40 songs, and we were trying to figure out how to release that music, because at the time we thought that would be our first album, and we didn't think we could get anyone to listen to a 40-song album by a band they'd never heard of. So we thought, what if we made a musical documentary and we put the songs in it, and then that way people have to listen to the songs if they watch the whole thing. And so we actually made this short film as a proof of concept trailer.
The way we started off was we each told the story. We each went into a different room and recorded ourselves telling our story. And I think the target was 5 minutes. And I think mine was maybe 20, and yours was
Mine was about
an hour and a half.
Long. I don't think was there a target?
Yeah, there was a target.
I missed the mark.
But and then we edited just the audio, so to tell the story with our stories, and so we just tried to make it just listenable through, and
Right.
Then afterwards went through and kind of matched whatever picture we had with that, and then then there was
and we also added all the music.
oh yeah, music.
And all the music in the film is instrumental of the songs that we wrote together while we were separate in quarantine.
Which is a glimpse of what the album is gonna feel like
Yes.
and vibe like. And I found the film to be incredibly moving.
Thank you.
Because I know you guys personally, but even if I didn't know you, the piece has a great anchor of vulnerability that I wasn't expecting to open the film. Because I thought it was gonna be rock doc, but you guys did a really great job to open on the human level, go into the music, and then come out on the human level. For people who haven't seen it, and I suggest that everyone click the link that's in the text below this video to go see it. We don't want to spoil it. How would you summarize the film?
Okay, I'll give a stab at it because I am the one who uploaded it to YouTube and had to write little summaries about it, so I'll use what I've been writing. Two artists on opposite sides of the country start making music, neither having any idea that they've met their soulmate.
Ooh.
Oh wow, that is moving.
That's good. I got a little chills there.
That's what it says under this video.
Yeah?
I'm pretty sure word for word that's what I wrote.
Oh, nice. I like it.
And Gia and I were watching it last night, and at the end, I was we're not facing each other, but I was sniffling, and Gia was like, "Are you crying?" I was like, "Yeah," because it's such a beautiful movie.
Thank you.
You guys are beautiful souls, and
thank you.
And as a man, to see another man as my peer and friend, you are a true inspiration of a great man that you are.
You're getting me
You are a
crying
beautiful
here.
man, and it's a privilege to know the both of you. And I really am enamored by this film because in this age where everything is saturated on the internet and what to watch, that's why I'm compelled to share your story with my friends, to other people to come, because I think it's incredible what you guys are doing, and I feel like people should know more. And you mentioned that it was two artists on other sides of the country, and then now you're here living together. And
It's a spoiler.
it is a spoiler, but you guys can watch it. But what was that experience like? It's in the movie, but how, like, you were working, and there's a part in the movie where you said you were never really planning to leave New York.
Yeah,
And now you're here.
Yeah, the only reason why I left New York, I was finishing my master's degree in New York City. I was in my final semester, and I just accepted a job of full-time, well, actually it was part-time, but with the intention of it becoming a full-time job at, a great music publishing firm, 5 minutes from my apartment. Like, I had everything kind of set up and ready to, like, stay in New York. And actually, for my job interview, I think part of the reason why I got the job was because I kept saying, like, I want to stay here. Because they were like, what's your 5-year plan? And I was like, I'm going to be in New York. I was like, I always move. And so I want to see what happens when I stay in the same place. I really sold it, and then I, cut and run. But then, quarantine happened 2 days after I got my job, which was a bummer because a big, reason why I wanted this job so badly was because their offices were so cool, and they would do in-house concerts and stuff. So I got to be in the office for 2 days, and then everything shut down. And I wasn't sure if I was gonna stay in New York, because I obviously had no idea what was gonna happen. But fortunately, about 2 years earlier, my parents bought a beach house in New Jersey. So I packed about 5 days worth of clothing. And as soon as we heard that the city might shut down, my best friend in New York and I packed bags really quickly and left. And we took a bag of popcorn. So then I'm at this beach house, and after a week, it's clear we're not going back after 5 days. So then my friend, she goes to her house because her parents live in New Jersey. And I stay in the beach house because I'm not really ready to, kind of concede the fact that I'm gonna have to move back in with my parents. So I stay in that beach house for 4 more weeks by myself. And I don't know anyone else in the town. I'm complete isolation for the first time in my life, just totally alone for a whole month. And it was during that time that I really more strongly connected with Jordan because he had worked on a musical project with me remotely while I was still in New York, and I loved what he did with the music, and there was just something about him that I kept reaching out to him about random things, like asking for advice. I was about to go to London for school, and I knew he was from there, and so I was like, could you give me some advice? And I was like, hey, you're living in LA, and you're working as a musician, how do you do that? And I just could not stop reaching out to you, and I didn't know why, because I didn't think I would meet you. You were just this composer in LA who, I had never met before. I didn't know if you were in a relationship. I didn't know anything about you. I didn't even know what you looked like for a while. But I just couldn't stop. So, as I'm in this beach house by myself, and it's clear I'm gonna be there for a while, lyrics start coming to mind. And, I'm thinking I'd love to make some music, but I didn't think I'd be here, so I didn't bring my guitar, I didn't bring my keyboard.
Enter me.
Enter Jordan. I text him, and again, this is really out of character for me. I'm not usually this bold. I would normally assume that no one would want to do this with me or for me, and so I would just save us all the time and not reach out. Because clearly I'm so good at saving time.
But fortune favors the bold.
Yeah.
But exactly, and so I texted him and asked if I sent over, me singing a song a cappella, if he'd have any interest in adding music to it. And that was how our first song as Ned and Wendy The Band was made.
Yeah.
And I recorded, the vocals on my cell phone and sent them to Jordan. He sent back this entirely produced and arranged song that's just it's phenomenal. We have to play it for you. And it's it's got I don't even know what's in it, but it's a fully it sounds like there's 10 different people playing on the song. It's incredible. And he sent it back in 2 days. So then I was want to do that again, and we kept doing it, and eventually I moved back home with my parents. And as we're making more music, I'm realizing I'm starting to, I'm getting a crush, and it's pretty significant. And I'd also decided I didn't want to move back to New York, and I started thinking about moving to LA, and I'll let you take it from there how we ended up in the same house, because I feel like this was your bold move.
Yeah, that was definitely my bold move. And again, I'm bold in different ways. Not in this way though.
But I think like to be an artist, you have to be bold.
Yeah.
Right? And then once you start to share your work, you have to be even more bold.
Yeah.
And then when you want to share your life with another artist, that's another level of being bold. That's like bold italics.
It also feels like the natural thing. It's like you've already committed to to sharing. You want to get down a little? To sharing everything in your art, or kind of committing your life to that, and with all that it entails. And so kind of anything other than that in a relationship seems like it doesn't really work together, because it's like you're pouring everything out into one thing and then like kind of holding some things back, and that doesn't work out so well. And so my side of the story is, as we're going, like jumping back in time. I'm working as a composer, and I'm living above a garage, and living. And it was a very, very small room that I spent, and it was during COVID, so I was complete hermit, and would just like no social life really at all. I was just kind of been recent, coming off a recent breakup of a 5-year relationship, and then before that, I had surgery on my spine and my skull, and been diagnosed with a chronic illness, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and so my life, and then my parents had gotten divorced, and everything was just kind of like...
Yes, and it's all in the film, so which is incredible that you guys have all that in there, because it really gets you on the train, and I'm fully emotionally invested before I even get to the music.
Yeah, and I think that it's one of those things that like we didn't really... It was easy to do because we didn't try, because it was like in all of the documenting. We've talked about this before, how we're both keen documentarians.
Right.
And one of the things in kind of the lead up to my surgery and recovering from surgery is I got a GoPro and started just filming everything. And it was my friend, and my only friend, not quite, a little. And so I'd be spending, and this was before quarantine, so I was kind of in isolation, like doing the alone time before it was hip.
There you go.
And it was just recording, like trying to get everything, like just thoughts, everything that was going on, was just trying to put it, like just trying to preserve it, to keep it. And it was not for, like, I was in theory going to make a short film later, but I had no idea what that was going to be. But for me, it was the sense of like, there were definitely dark times and painful times, and it helped knowing that I was capturing those on camera, and that I would always have those, which sounds... Why would you want to preserve your dark times? It's like, no, that's where the good stuff is.
That is where the good stuff, and that's why I found it really incredible that you have it in the film, and because like you're open to, like, everybody's vulnerable, but not everybody's good at being transparent about that vulnerability.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not.
It definitely takes practice, and it's weird at first.
But okay.
Yeah.
But this vulnerability, answering the earlier question of how we ended up living together,
True.
There was a moment of very open vulnerability
with our song called "Vulnerable."
Yes.
No, that's not, okay.
I'm trying. Well, when I handed it off to you, I was thinking you were gonna step in of when we.
It seems right. Yeah.
But
It didn't happen quite that way.
but
Do you want me to go back?
no.
Our second song was "Vulnerable."
Our second song was called "Vulnerable."
And so it was, we had done the first song. I had sent, Lindsay had sent me this music. I had, or just you singing along with a metronome. And it was, I just did it and I produced it. It just came out kind of. And I mean, I was working as a composer for film and TV and commercials at the time. And so I was used to like, I was working a ton and like 7 days a week was just like, I was just by myself and that's what I would do. I would work. And so I would work on like, I'd have like 12 projects going at once because it's the only way to pay any sort of bills.
Right.
And so I would just kind of cycle through projects. I would just like write, and then if I hit a wall or run out of some idea for something, I would just move on to the next one. And then here comes this song, and I was like, this looks fun. Let's do this. And it all comes out, and it's like, whoa, it kind of felt like it had already existed. And that's one of the things that I actually mentioned this yesterday with, I think it was Awake. Yeah, it was the song which is now available on Apple Music. Yeah. Apple Music. And with I really most of our songs really like there's a certain quality where maybe it's just to me where it feels like it already existed before. I knew it, and I don't know exactly what that is, but I felt that way with Sun and Moon, which was our first song, and then we made Vulnerable and started working on a music video for that, and
wow.
this is fun. It was.
So we're at the point now where the two artists, coast to coast, are now living in Los Angeles.
Oh no! This
is still bi-coastal?
I'm trying to get a.
Oh, you're trying to get us. Oh yeah. Well, jumping forward, we then continue making music, and it's really fun and it's great. And I've never made music like this, and suddenly I'm working on all these other projects. But I'm like, nothing. I can't deal with those. Like, nothing is as important. Like, I've got to keep doing this, and then. So it's like all day I'm just lying on the floor, sending songs, playing guitar, and we're going back and forth. And you send me the like suggest I watch the Laurel Canyon documentary, and after that, kind of had this crazy idea like, what if like we could do that? Yeah, and so I texted you saying that. This is uncharacteristically impulsive, which it definitely was. But do you want to move in together? And we were not dating or anything. We were just.
We weren't dating. We'd just been making music. We'd never met in person. I don't know if you knew this, but I was crushing so hard on you. And as soon as he sent as soon as I received the text asking if I wanted to live with him, because I also like had fantasized about like, I didn't even actually, I tend to be very realistic with my fantasies. I don't like them to get too carried away. So I would never actually fantasize about us living together, but like I had some like things where I would imagine myself going on a walk and maybe like I would run into you. And at first you wouldn't recognize me because you told me once that you're not good at recognizing faces and like, it was a super like I did it was a very I guess not realistic, but I was trying to be a very realistic fantasizer.
We're not good realists.
But I really wanted to live with you so badly,
But as an artist, you have vision for your work, so I would say that translates to life as well. It's like if I create the song, and I need drums, strings, and lyrics, the same applies to life, where it's like, yo, I need a place to live, I need a place to
Yeah.
create, I need a life partner.
Yeah, and also it's a good reminds me of like music that's not our music, and that's another thing that really I feel like allowed us to create this shared realm that was not rooted in our lives, in our like physical lives on
Yeah, it was
Earth
like
in the moment.
Our ability to meet was through listening to other people's music at the same time.
Yeah, and so we would make these playlists for each other, and we'd have a theme. It would be like five songs for a starry night or something, and we would each pick 5 songs and then put them together, and then we would do a list.
Oh, I was gonna say we do a countdown.
Oh, we do a
remember?
countdown. Oh, I forgot about the countdown. Yeah,
It's a 10-second countdown, so like someone would send
On
the
text.
text saying countdown starting now, and whenever that text sent, we would count down in our head, so that way we'd start at like the exact same time, and we could like text while we were listening to the songs.
Yeah, and it was so we would be in these songs and these went on. We had tons and tons of these playlists, but we were able to like enjoy these kind of musical spaces that had been created in the past by these artists we love, that we both independently and different, like growing up on different sides of the earth, we both gravitated towards the same artists, towards the same type of songs, and we were both like turning each other onto new music, new artists that we hadn't listened to, and kind of in each playlist it was expanding our view of the universe, really, and just how we saw everything, how we heard everything. And I had never gotten that deep in myself. And so we started sending back a journal back and forth. And just, I don't really remember. I just thought maybe something will happen with this, but it just felt like it was the right thing to do. It was, I think I sent an Amazon order of like a Moleskine journal and Emerson's Self-Reliance book of essays, which are incredible and really helped me kind of, when I was going through my medical stuff, those helped me to like kind of hone in on me and understand that, like, yeah, there are physical limitations, there are things that I can't do. I'm kind of stuck on the couch, but I can kind of explore in my mind.
Absolutely.
And I think that the journal allowed us to expand from music and in this shared world we were creating with the music to this journal world.
Yeah, it was like before we met in person, we'd already had the most intimate relationship that I'd ever had with another person, like without any physical intimacy.
Yeah, right.
That was like the one thing which like I didn't like even worry about until I think maybe like a week before we met. I started to panic that like I was like, what if you smell weird?
Make weird chewing noises.
Yeah, that was because I have not pursued people for less.
Well, especially because, seduction is 90% psychological. Right? So it's like to fall in love with someone doesn't always have to be physical.
Yeah.
And actually, I think for me personally, I needed it to not be, because I had just, right before quarantine, been diagnosed with genital herpes. I'd had my first outbreak. And, I'd been single for about 5 years. I'd never really had a really healthy relationship. But I always, it seemed strange at the time. It makes sense now, but like my whole life, I had really just like some of the most ridiculously bad romantic stories. And yet I was probably like the biggest romantic that I knew. And I believed so strongly in that there was someone out there that was like my other half. And I think that's part of the reason why I had, such struggle in other relationships, because I knew that person existed, and so I gave everyone such a chance because I thought, well, maybe that you were that person, and it was like I knew that could exist, so I thought maybe this person could be that, and it was just always this. I don't know what that noise was. It was always this kind of disappointment of, I expected too much and had to lower my standards, lower, my, things that it got to the point where, right before I met Jordan, I was in I was in an open relationship, and that's never what I wanted. I wanted that partner, but it just got to the point that I was sacrificing everything that I wanted out of a relationship because I don't know, because I believed in love, and I thought maybe that my expectations were getting in the way of that. It was just that I hadn't met you yet. But yeah, I had just been diagnosed with genital herpes, and dating had already been hard enough, and so much of it had been about sex and the physical side, and I wasn't getting the emotional intimacy that I needed, or the emotionally, I have anxiety, I have depression, I have panic attacks, and no one was able to no one was like emotionally like strong enough really to handle that, or equipped yet in their lives to handle that, and I wasn't either. And so that's why I think it was always so reliant on the physical element, because that was easier for a while until that became impossible, because now I have this, STD that I need to disclose to people before things go too far. But I was also under the belief that if I wasn't, sleeping with someone, that they would not take the time to get to know me emotionally.
But I feel it's also helpful to have those conversations, even if you're not involved physically with people, because there's other people that have different conditions that it demystifies that whole, what's that word? Oh my God. Stigma, right, where it's like, hey, it creates awareness, and it's like, hey, this isn't like the stigma is the bad part, but there's treatment and conditions, and it's really about like ethics and like confidence to like, hey, because there's a part in the film where you're talking about your medical with all your the way you say it in the film is like we're creating, and then we're in these bodies where it's like, whoa, like these spirits are like flowing and oozing creativity, but they're also in these bodies that require different attention. And I feel like having these conversations and being so transparent about both of your medical histories is inspiring to people, because especially when you're bedridden and you can't move, it's like, how do you recover from that? Not just physically, but mentally. Like, how do you bounce back from, how can I move with complete freedom? Right? And then how do you love with complete freedom? Right? So to have these conversations, I feel it's incredibly important, because like it requires a whole community of people to really rise together.
And I think it's like it's conversations that everyone needs. I mean, it's like different conversations for each person, but it's the sort of conversation which I didn't know I needed. I had to go through all of these things. I had to go. It's like it's an adventure story. You have to go through all of these different stages. And I mean, before my surgery, I was kind of searching. I was like in really not good physical shape, but searching for. I was undiagnosed for 5 years, or I guess my whole life undiagnosed. But I was searching, going to doctors for 5 years, and saw like almost 60 different doctors around the country, in different countries. Like it was an epic quest, and not epic in the fun sense, but it was like there's a certain
because you had like no answers for like half a decade.
And there's a certain element of I don't want to say delusion, because it's not delusion, but there was a certain like mindset where you to be able to walk into a doctor's office thinking like, this is it, this is where I'll get the answer. Like kind of from all experience, that's not going to happen. But still believing that this is where it changes. And I think that's very similar to an artist's, like how artists exist, because it's that like, it's just that full faith in something, and so it's like going into, and I mean that happened for all of the years I was working on different music projects, hoping that like this would be the one, and I guess it was kind of serving as a proxy for life, but it was always like this will be the one that leads to that leads to that, and in the moment I needed to believe that, and I needed to have my hopes, and people are scared of being disappointed by things, but I've always I don't. To be scared of being disappointed involves so many hypothetical situations, so many hypothetical thoughts that just takes too much energy. It's not good.
Yeah, because then you start to suffer for things that haven't happened yet.
Yeah.
Yes, you're the one who, and I'm still working on it. I love my hypothetical reasoning for not trying something. There are so many, things in life that I had not even considered were options for me. I mean, I was getting my master's in music business because I didn't believe that I could pursue being an artist. And I was, in relationships that weren't good because I didn't believe that what somewhere deep in my heart I knew was real. I still had so many, I thought I had so many reasons to believe that it couldn't possibly exist. And so I think, one, asking you to make music that one time was a huge step for me. And it's like, I would have never asked you to live with me. As much as I wanted to, I would have never done that because I would have expected you to say no. I would have expected to be disappointed, and then I would have expected that me asking you that would have been too much, and I would have scared you away, and that would be it. And so, you asking something so bold like that of me was so inspiring. And since we've been together, I mean, my God, today, you were the one that was like, why don't we do this at noon because we were running late? And I was like, we can't do that. I was like, no, Gustavo has plans. Like, but you know what? I didn't give up right away. I said, why don't you text him and ask? But that was big for me because I would have, a year ago, 2 years ago, I would have been even afraid to ask that because I would have just assumed that the answer would be no.
And the answer was even better.
I know. I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. But it's like,
but I was living in that same thing too in like a few years before that. But it's like I was just so used to just kind of being in pain 24/7 and just like, but there's still things that you need to do. So you just kind of suck it up and deal with it.
Exactly.
And I just feel like now, as time goes on, we're just becoming more and more able to, as soon as we have some sort of intuitive sense that something could be right, instead of coming up with all the reasons why it couldn't work. I'm still, you're still better at this than I am, but
just a thing.
But thinking actually, but you know what? When we were in Cambria, I said, what if we moved here? Which is big for me.
Yeah, that was
actually really big for me because we were only there for one night, but I was, we were talking to someone who lived there and we'd had such a lovely time, and I just had this thought, what if we just lived here for just a year, and got a little shack, lived, in a more quaint place and just focused on art for a while, because I also, I've been doing a lot of the marketing, running social media, and living in LA, there is, I have felt this pressure to try and become famous and to, get other people's approval, and it was, really starting to, exhaust me, and I was close to burnout. I was really having a hard time, and when we went to this small town, and I just immediately, one, being close to nature was priorities back in check. We're tiny, and it's life and earth, and it's short, and then thinking about art. Why do we do it? It's not to get famous. It's just so that we can connect with people. It's why we fell in love. It's how we met. That's the purest reason for it. And and so the fact that like knowing how right that felt and being able to even bring it up and not being totally blocked by the fear of you saying, no, we can't do that,
Yeah.
or that's a bad idea, you know, like.
Right.
I finally understand high rope walkers, like Philippe Petit, the man on
Oh
wire.
yeah, Feliz Village, love
And, like,
him.
I've never understood that sort of. I'm not an adrenaline junkie, very much not, not. And I could never understand like how. And I mean, growing up, I had lots of anxiety and paranoia, and just like I didn't know how to control. Not that I know how to control my mind now, but it's just like it would just go, and I just wouldn't have to go with it. But it would go to dark places, and it's just like I don't want to be here, but I can't do it.
Yeah.
And so the idea of someone like being that close to death on a wire and choosing to do that, it blew my mind. Not blew my mind in the positive sense, but it was just like, why? But I realized with you, and I think both of us felt this, that like we were able to look to see where we were in that moment, and to then look back at our life thus far that had brought us here, and to accept the fact that everything had to happen exactly how it happened for us to be here in that moment.
Right, there was like an alignment of the planets.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it had to be exactly that. And so, and a lot of the path, like the life, each of our respective lives had beautiful moments and very painful moments, and not that they're mutually exclusive, but it's kind of realizing that it doesn't have to be painful all the time. And
Right.
like even pain itself doesn't have to be sad. And
It doesn't have to be anything.
doesn't
There
have to-
are no rules.
yeah, and being able to exist in the present. It was the first time I would do things not because I thought this is going to lead to this or lead to that or turn out well for these reasons, but because like in the moment, I wanted to do that. And that kind of led to us as well, like that led to doing more improv, guitar, and then kind of collaborative improv.
Yeah, knowing that like you can't mess up if you're making up music on the spot because everything is right.
Yeah, it's impossible. It's everything's right. And there's that freedom there, and it's a rush. It's a rush like I'd never felt before, and kind of being like exposed. That's
Not
the
an
link.
adrenaline junkie.
No, but that's the link back to the Philippe Petit, where it's like now I get like when you're that close to life, to like the real stuff. Not that other stuff isn't real, but like when you're that close to like the present, you've seen it, you can't unsee it.
Right, and that's why when I saw your film, it was so inspiring because like you guys are so accessible, and you inspire creativity, and you inspire accessing your own vulnerability, right? So I want to take it to the album now,
Yeah.
where it's like, hey, so now that we have the film, you have an album release coming up, you have an event coming up,
Yeah.
March 11th.
Yep.
What can you tell people about the album and this event?
Well, the album, so similarly to the film, the album was made without the intention of it being our first album. You were there when it happened. We started having these house concerts, and for our second concert, we had everything rigged up to record it, which we did for the first concert as well. And just wanted to make sure we captured everything because that's what we do. And the first half of the concert was us playing, live, playing songs, almost all songs that we had written while we were in quarantine. A couple songs that were written in LA. I think 2 songs that were written since we moved here.
One of which, the first time I heard Back to the Impulsive Decisions, you called saying that, like, I was upstairs, you were downstairs making dinner, and you're like, dinner's ready, and then I came down and you're like, oh, can I show you a song, which was a song I just made, which was like a normal thing. And I listened to it, and by the end of it I was just in tears, and then I didn't expect it, but then I just proposed. And it just happened. And so it was like one of those things where it just felt right, and it felt absolutely necessary. Back to you.
So yes, there are songs that we wrote while we were falling in love, and there are songs that led to us getting engaged. And then the entire second half of the album is completely made up on the spot.
Improvised.
Totally improvised.
So the album resembles the experience of the audience that were at your house concert.
Yes,
So
and
the person
I would
listening
say,
is being... So whoever couldn't make it to your house concert can have the same experience.
Yeah.
Because the album is from the house concert.
Yeah.
yes, it's all totally live.
There's nothing no
editing at all.
I mean, the only editing I did was, it sounds like a little bit of humble brag. The only editing I did was cutting out applause.
Hey!
No.
That's great.
It's true, but it was just like, it's just what you see is what you get.
Actually, just real quick, I just want to highlight Jordan's incredible editing skills on this album, because when you listen to it through, it will sound completely seamless, as though nothing has been cut out. And that is not actually the case. There is like some dialogue that's cut out, some like from in between songs, that Jordan's playing guitar underneath me speaking, and Jordan managed to edit it so that you can't tell that there's a break in him playing guitar. It all lines up, and what I'm saying all lines up. It's really incredible.
And where is the album dropping? Like, if I'm walking around, I want to hear you guys, how can I get it?
So it's going to be on your favorite streaming platform. You know, wherever you listen to music, it will be there. I mean, unless you listen, in a very like niche place but I mean, it's going to be Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, Deezer, Tidal, all the places, and
Except the single, which is the pre-release single, which is only available on Apple Music.
yeah, right now, if you want to preview the album, you can find it on Apple Music, and you can hear excerpts of all of the songs, and you can hear the full song Awake.
You can hear excerpts of the songs?
Yes.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's
fun.
cool.
I know.
And you can see the album cover taken by...
That's right. That's right.
You are such.
I didn't forget.
You're basically the third member of Ned and Wendy The Band.
I shot an album cover, and I'm really excited.
Yeah.
So when I saw, I was like, oh my god, I took that picture. That's amazing. Thank you for letting me be part of that experience.
Oh, thank you. I mean, you're all over the album.
Yeah.
You have a huge hand in it.
Well, I love the power of music because like it never destroys; it only heals, right? And it doesn't matter where you're from, even if there's a language barrier, the music still translates, where it can really hit someone's soul.
Yeah.
And then tell me about this event happening on March 11th.
So we are having a backyard release party next Friday night at our house.
March 11th.
March 11th, and if you go on our Instagram, in our link, you can find the link to register for the event. It's free, and so we're gonna, kick it off with a screening of the film, and then we're gonna play a little concert for everyone, playing songs from the album. And there's going to be some art for sale.
Yeah.
Nice.
Lots
do
of
a little...
art. Pay what you want. So
Yes.
If you want art, come.
Yeah. If you want art and music and a love story and wine and beer and a nice backyard hangout on a Friday night, it's kind of the place to be.
I have this firm belief that who you are on a Friday night is who you really are in life. Right?
I love that.
That to me is
That's
like
absolutely
the
true.
epitome. It's like, because it's like you know, the traditional like, oh, I've been working all week. Now I'm off and I could be myself going into the weekend. Like, I feel like, so for your show to be on a Friday night in Los Feliz, let's talk about Los Feliz for a second.
Yeah.
Why is this neighborhood so important to you guys?
Because you're here.
Hey, and you're here too.
It's a magical place, and I don't know exactly why or how. Or
Probably Maru.
Probably Maru, Griffith Observatory. Oh, another thing we talked about before is that there are no, like the often cities or towns are kind of built around their highest points, whether that be financial centers
or
church.
Right.
But here it's Griffith Observatory. It's
like we're all about, you know, reaching for the stars and wanting to explore, and also at the same time being connected to nature. And it's sort of like that middle ground. It's where you know, Earth and humanity meets something beyond.
And in the process, get great coffee.
Incredible coffee.
Shout out to Maru. They're not sponsoring this at all, but you can't be around Lindsay and Jordan without coffee.
Yeah.
You know?
It's true. It's true.
And this
love
became
it.
a part of our very much a ritual where we every morning we'd go for coffee and read poetry and sit on our stoop.
Which is the album cover.
And it's not our stoop. It's someone's stoop.
Someone's stoop, so thank you to that person.
$46.97 Clarissa.
I'm sorry and thank you.
And by sitting there every day, I've never done this with any. I haven't had a ritual like this in my life before, and so being kind of in this beautifully happy place, like this close to life, and just kind of every day seeing the passers-by and the comings and goings of life, and we wrote a book of poetry together from sitting. We haven't released that yet, so it's.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. But interestingly enough, you say the word happy, and that's what feliz in Spanish means.
Oh,
happy.
Yeah,
The happy.
True.
I never connected that, but yeah, there's something different about as well the people
We're alive
here.
in happiness.
Yeah, and people are friendly in a way that is, it's different. And granted, I'm the person on the street that says hi, and I say like maybe I get a hi back like 4 out of 10 times maybe, but that's pretty good considering like a city.
It's actually a higher percentage than you normally get.
Yeah,
so
no, but I feel like I've been doing
things are
looking up.
Yeah.
But I feel like we've been able to make friends with strangers.
Yeah, it's so cool. We have neighborhood friends.
Exactly.
Never had that before.
You guys would not be sitting in this room if none of us took the time to say buongiorno.
Yeah.
To greet each other and say hello.
Yes.
And I think one of the, again, the reason that we're here is because we took the time to say hello, but also we
And that's the reason why we're here.
Oh, yeah. Hey. But also we appreciate the unknown. I think that it comes from a curiosity and an openness to the world and to all that is beyond, but it's not easy to get there. It's taken my whole life so far, and I feel like we came at the perfect time for each other. But sorry, again.
No, I'm just.
Oh yeah, and so
like, tell me more.
Yeah, and so I think that like you have to get to a point where it's like a bottle or something, like a water bottle that's you can only get water in there if it's open.
Right.
But before you can be open, you've got to like kind of know where the openness, like where it leads to inside yourself.
Right.
And so there's a lot of kind of soul searching and meditation and alone time and kind of self work that's needed before someone can be fully open to what's beyond. And I think that this is a place, this is a neighborhood at least, where there are a lot of people like in the creative fields and in being a creator of sorts. You spend a lot of time alone.
Exactly.
And yeah, there's the like, Hollywood glam, but that's not not us at all, but also like people have to perfect their craft, and there's a lot of time that's like spent, even if you don't intend to do it, questioning yourself.
Right, and I feel like a lot of people spend so much time honing their craft that it's very easy to just let that dominate your life. And in the beauty of meeting you guys was that I felt that I had no idea you guys were creative, but there was a vibe. But it was one of those things where it's like, hey, with you guys, there was an opportunity to hone a human connection, which was prompted by the word buongiorno.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? Every day we'd see each other, we'd say buongiorno. And then one
we
day
didn't-
you said,
Yeah, because I loved it leading. I could have gone on with that for forever. Really.
Yeah, we were such a big fan of saying buongiorno to you. We thought you were our Italian friend.
And I mean, I didn't need an explanation why this was happening. I just loved that it was a thing that kept happening, and I was just kind of down to see where that led. But then one day I felt like there was maybe it was the fact that I quit Italian, or not quit, but we took Italian for a year in like second, third grade, or I guess 2 years. But then didn't do it in middle school because I didn't have it, and so I always wanted to learn Italian. And I felt a little self-conscious. I didn't speak Italian beyond buongiorno, and so I said, like, I don't actually speak Italian.
And wait, I just needed to make sure it's clear. We had been, our only communication for months was that on a regular basis.
Without
we would
any other
see
words.
each other and we would say buongiorno. So for months, we believed that you were an Italian-speaking person, and so then after months of this,
Yeah.
I think it was definitely at least those 2 lockdowns.
Yeah.
Right? It was like from lockdown 1 to
Yeah.
lockdown 2. It was like,
Yes.
buongiorno,
Yeah.
buongiorno.
And then there was one day where you waved outside from your window, and that made us so happy.
Yeah, we were like, oh wow, like we're really friends. Even though buongiorno is the only thing that we can say to each other, we've made this real friendship.
And it like makes a morning brighter when there's like some sort of like genuine human interaction, regardless of language. It's just like if there's if 2 humans meet in some way, it makes you feel. And so, but then I guess I was feeling a little anxious at this point because I said, I don't. You came by, buongiorno, and I was like, I gotta tell you, I don't speak Italian, and you of course said, neither do I.
And we were shook.
And from then on, there was like it's perfect. It's
Actually, that ended up in one of the poems we were writing. We were writing a poem that day. And so you will see someday there's a part where it's, I forget exactly what it says,
was greeted by a stranger in a foreign tongue or something like that.
and then it was like, and then we find out that he doesn't speak Italian. That's
But
incredible.
I'm glad that you told me that, because I think that if you did not say anything, we'd still be just saying buongiorno.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we wouldn't have an album, or we wouldn't be collaborating.
Yeah, but this
I'll
is
be honest though, I do think at some point you did say something about wanting to like kind of work on a couple more Italian phrases so that there could be more discussion had.
I did. That sounds right. And then I realized that because in the past I've got a bunch of different phrases in different languages that I know that don't lead to any other phrases that have no real use.
You just haven't had that specific conversation
Yeah,
yet.
like in Arabic, give me a pistachio nut. And most people, I think I'm probably saying it wrong, but most people are like, what? But I never have a follow-up. So I wanted to make, that was not a great example, to be honest.
My favorite word to learn in a different language is always butterfly.
Really?
Because
Papillon.
most people learn profanity, right? I feel profanity is so incendiary that it stays in your long-term memory, right?
Yeah.
But I also feel that butterfly is usually it's always like a 3-syllable word in every language, but it's such a pretty word
Yeah.
that it really allows people to bring down their guard.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you say butterfly
That's
in
great.
Italian? Oh, farfalla. You know?
That's farfalla.
Farfalla, exactly.
Also in Los Feliz.
Exactly.
Yes, it's a magical place. And there are butterflies here.
Exactly.
There are. And so, but there needs to be an openness to that, to wondering what is butterfly in another language,
Yeah.
and knowing that like there are things that can bring pleasure that are just the meaning of words, and like things, and it's hard to get there because there's so many distractions and there's so much stimuli that life is overwhelming and hard and painful, and to be able to seek out butterfly, that's a cool thing.
And that's why I when I look back at especially these last 2 years of this pandemic, where there's a lot of people that I haven't seen since this whole thing went down. I haven't seen my mother in years, right? There's some friendships that will be friends,
Yeah.
but they're like inactive friends,
Yeah.
right? And then you have some people that are just dead plants, right? Where it's like, yo, okay, that friendship's over,
Yeah.
right? Not because it's like anything malice happened, but it's just like, yo, the time has
Yeah.
expired,
Yeah.
but it also made room for new
Yeah.
friendships. So when I was watching a movie, I was like, oh my God, like, this is so emotional because I know the both of you personally now. I know your story.
Yeah.
I'm part of the story now. So I just want to say that with whatever time we have, whether it's years, 30, 40 years, hopefully, I'm very honored and privileged to be your friend and to put that
Likewise.
friendship on the line
Yeah.
and to formally say it in like that
Yeah.
mythological way. Because a
Yeah.
lot of people are just like, hey, I've seen you so much now, I
Yeah.
guess we're friends. But it's
Yeah.
like, yo, we're friends. Like,
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, it's like, so
Yeah.
I'm very grateful to that.
I'm grateful
and,
too.
So are we.
And before we close, I definitely want to get like a sample of your
yeah.
work while you're
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
You're talking about art. This is
Oh,
a
yeah.
case that you painted.
Yeah, this is, I ran out of canvas, right? It happens a lot.
Everything is a canvas.
Yeah, everything's a canvas, so we'll run out of canvas and then I'll just paint whatever has a surface. That's not the walls, because I'd get in trouble otherwise.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. We're about to get a sample of Ned Wendy The Band.
Okay, one
I'm
second.
not sure what they're going to come out with, but you'll see.
I might need to tune some stuff. Oh, don't worry.
Lola. Nope.
And Lindsay, you're mic too, so you know.
Oh, sound good.
Is it like a shaker? Or?
Yeah, I'm on both. What is this? Oh, that's from the Mint.
Yeah.
Lola, that's not a toy, mama.
I actually, this is one thing that we did when Jordan and I were living in quarantine, like separate from each other. As we were like becoming closer, we started sending each other gifts, and that was kind of how we connected physically. And so Jordan had told me about how he had like this collection of like maracas, and like some of them were like baby rattles, like all sorts of
This one was
ridiculous
from when
things.
I was like 4.
Wait, that same
this
one?
Yeah.
This
Oh,
one.
that.
But he was talking about how he kept breaking his maracas. So I went to Etsy and I found maracas that could be engraved, and I sent him 2 actually, just to be sure. And they both say, "Don't break this one"
Nice.
on them.
Oh my God, we have a sample. Ned Wendy The Band.
You good to go?
Good to go.
Couldn't find the words. That's what I said when I was lying, eyes closed in my bed, reaching out to her, and what it meant that I've been crying happiness, and it's on the tip of my tongue, but I tie it down with the rope I've strung up sugar and ice. She's good, and it's only a matter of everything. It's only a matter of sometimes in the look Sometimes in the dark or in the silence, listening like the stars. I rode in the hood, far from the start, and I've been reading, speeding to that part, tucked away where they tie the binding, just researching minds to find like yours and mine. It's good, and it's only a matter of everything. It's only a matter of everything. I hear when I am listening a matter of everything. I'm certain I have needed it is everything. I never thought that I'd receive. I always thought I was a dreamer, but I never was asleep. And it's only a matter of everything
That was incredible.
That was amazing.
Should we do another one?
Should I bring Lola over here?
Maybe for this next song.
All right. Is she on camera there, Gia?
I should say that was the last. The one we just played was the last song that we made before telling each other that we loved each other.
The last one.
Yeah, the last one. These are
Yeah.
not the words, and
The words are "I love you."
but these are not the words. And so I had just left a voice. We're sending voice memos back and forth, and I had just left a nice something, and I was saying kind things and just speaking like I was gushing. I was gushing, and then I said I just don't have the words, or maybe I do.
Oh.
And then that was the end of the voice memo.
Yeah. And then he sent me the guitar part, and so the next day I wrote the lyrics for a song called "These Are Not the Words," and it was all about saying I love you without saying it.
Oh,
And
that's
like, it's on the tip of my tongue that I tie it down with a rope I've strung of sugar and ice, so it's gonna melt, it's gonna go away,
Ice
I'm gonna
cream.
say it.
Oh, wow.
But I remember actually singing the song to my mom after I sent it,
It's about your mom.
it's about my mom. But I was telling her the lyrics because I was like, Mom, like this is really big. Like I told him how I feel, and I told her the lyrics, and she was like, Are you sure that's gonna be clear enough?
There
And
you
I was
go.
like, He'll
It was
get
clear
it.
enough.
He'll get it.
Oh, I love it.
I catch a leaf. I know the tree. You'll find me dancing round the corner while I'm standing on the street. And I'm enchanted by another world that I have yet to meet. That's the light in my eyes. I'm wide awake, know what's at stake. And when I sleep, all of my dreams are just as real as they are fake. And I'm rewarded by another chance that I have yet to take. And that's the light in my eyes. That's the light in my eyes. Story told in just a single word. Know a voice that I've never heard. I'm awake, awake, awake. See the statue inside of the stone. Let it catch you, let it bring you home. Awake, awake, awake. What is a thought if not a candle? What is a flame if not a cry. I've got the petals tore off the handle. Oh, off I fly. In an hour I will be before, somewhere else in just a minute more. I'm awake, awake, awake. And in one is all the poetry. From a leaf I'd like to grow a tree. I'm awake, awake, awake. I'm awake, awake, awake. Awake, awake, awake. Yeah. Awake, awake. I'm awake. I'm awake, 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 awake. I'm awake. I'm awake, awake,
Oh my god, that was incredible.
Thank you.
Album's out this Friday, March 11th. Go to the Eventbrite, come to the show, and if you want to watch the movie, also on the link. Ned Wendy The Band. Oh my god,
Thank you so much.
Thanks
This
for
is
having
incredible.
us.
Oh
This
my
is
god,
really
yeah, I'm
good.
looking.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you guys are so inspiring. I'm very happy
Oh.
to be friends and to be
Yeah.
sharing, being creative, and music is so moving that, you know, I also do look forward to coming over and recording some songs.
Yeah.
Yes,
And, you know,
We're excited too.
absolutely.
Lola, you too.
anything else you'd like to add or freestyle in terms of like any advice you give to
always
people
wanted to
who are flirting with the idea of creativity and how we balance a life using creativity?
Okay, I'd like to give a thought that I have. If you want to take it as advice, you may, but you know, it's of course unique for every person. But I think one of the most important things that I've come to realize is that any art that you make, because you have to. And when I say have to, I don't mean because it's been assigned to you, or because you're gonna make, you know, money if you do it, or it's a good networking opportunity. But any art that you know, just kind of seeps from you, like that you have no choice but to make it, that's good art. No matter how it is received by anyone else, no matter what anyone else says about it, if you decide to put it out into the world, know that if you had to make it, that is the only standard to me of what true good art is.
That's good.
That's, yeah, it's crystallizing.
Yeah, okay, I guess I gotta.
Follow that up there, Jordan.
Life is chaos. No matter who you are, where you are, if you're the Queen of England or if you're. I always used to think the Queen of England. I mean, I grew up in London, so that was an example of like trying to understand the concept of perfection and like making mistakes. And I was like, does the Queen ever make mistakes? Like, I mean, she You probably.
Well, I've watched The Crown.
That's true. I hadn't watched The Crown. I haven't seen The Crown yet. But even if you're not the queen, even if you are the queen, if you're watching this, thank you.
Thank you, Queen.
Life is chaos, and there's it's unpredictable at every stage, and to try and control that is a form of resisting life. We have the things that we need to do, which lead us in certain directions, and so if we are kind of mindful and deliberate about how we live and how we choose to live, kind of, we can be creative in our living.
I think we're at an age, you know, I'm 26, you're 27. You know, I finished school 2 years ago, so this is our first, you know, home that we're sharing with, you know, a life partner. We're, you know, engaged for almost a year exactly now, and this is kind of that time when you start to be able to separate what you took for granted as fact or truth that was actually just one person's belief about how things should be,
Right.
versus actual truth with a capital T. This is actual advice that I would like to give, and it's incredible. This is advice, but again, you don't have to take it. I don't like, because this is actually, you will see the advice itself is why I don't want to give it as advice.
As knowledge that you have,
Okay.
you're willing to share.
Okay, it's really hard to give this piece of advice as advice, because what I'm going to say is, if you still feel restricted in your life or bound to the belief that things should or ought to be a certain way, my advice is to recognize that's not necessarily the case, that things are as they are, and that whatever you decide in your way of experiencing the world, in your individual, unique, special reality, because really we're all existing within our own unique realities, that whatever you decide is right, is right. Like, you have to kind of accept the fact that if you're gonna live life truly in a way that like is exactly right for you, you can't expect the people who taught you otherwise to necessarily see that that's right for you.
A good, I guess, litmus test for that, or a way of like, you said, like realizing, is anytime you use the word should or ought. It's not that I want to do this or I will do this, it's that like, I should. It's, which implies that there's some other force that's elsewhere, that's not in your direct like line of sight or being, that's providing some sort of pressure to go in a certain direction. That's not necessarily related to, again, where you are in that moment. And so anytime like one of us says should, or I don't think we say ought that much, but ought. One of us and says should or ought, like we kind of call the other one out on it. Because it's like who says you should? Like what does that mean? Why should you do that? Like
If it gives it more of an obligation tone.
Yeah, if you can do away with the shoulds in your life,
Right.
that's
then
good.
it's easier to recognize what are the musts, you know?
Or I want.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are the things that like you just only you can do in this life that you know deep down you just have to do.
And that's why I rock with you guys, because I definitely feel that as an artist, I gravitate to other artists on entertainment and knowledge and inspiration. But very rarely do you meet artists like yourselves that are like, hey, not only do I want to improve my craft, but I also want to improve who I am as a human. That's what resonates with my experience with you guys, where it's like, oh yeah, I'm an artist, but when I'm with you, I don't ever feel like, oh, I'm gonna hone my craft today. It's more like, oh my goodness, how can I learn from you guys to be a much better person when it comes to just your own human connection and syncing your mind with your heart. And that's why I really enjoy my time with you guys, is I think it's always beautiful and I always feel like a better human being
So do we.
after we say ciao.
So do we.
Yeah.
So, but thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you.
March 11th, album coming out.
Thank you for listening to Stebner Show.